and she had the keys on a fishing rod on a wire dangling out and lowered them down to me whilst I kind of didn't get out my car and grabbed them because no one really knew what was going on. Amortization, bit of a difficult one to say that. Right, everybody, welcome. So we're going to be doing a series now where I break down each of the properties that we've purchased over the years in our property portfolio breakdown. So if you've come halfway through in the series, don't forget to go all the way back to the beginning, watch them all the way through one after the other, and then we'll do a summary at the end. Hopefully you're going to find this really interesting and kind of my journey on our property breakdown, which you'll see in other videos I feed in as a general thing. So here you're going to get the real meaty information. And then that information will be summarized at the end. So when you watch other videos and I say, so our property portfolio is XYZ, then you'll understand where that comes from. So you can watch these videos over and over again, nice little series. And as I say, if you've come in halfway through, don't forget to go back to the beginning and watch them all the way through. Otherwise they won't make sense. Right, thank you for coming back and tuning into this series that we're doing on the property portfolio breakdown. So this is property number 5. So property number 5, I'm going to start using a blue pen. And as you notice in the previous videos, I was using a red pen. What is the reason for that? Well, we're going to say the blue pen is where we change to a limited company. So we've gone from previously ownership in my own personal name up to this point. And then because of Section 24 legislation, we decided that it was more cost effective for us to actually start owning these businesses in a limited company name. If you want to know more about Section 24 legislation, please click on one of the other videos or have a look on, there's loads of them on YouTube, but basically it's a type of tax on property interest on the mortgage payments that you can't claim, but you used to be able to claim if you earn it in your own name. So probably done a fairly poor job of explaining that for you, but basically the money that you borrow from the bank, you can't have it as tax deductible allowance against your personal self-assessment return, but you can as a business, you can use it as a tax deductible allowance. So hence the blue pen. So property number 5, this was a 3/4. We love 3/4. That's a bit like our estate agency because it's just a massive basement basically. 3/4 house this time. So we've moved away from our staple of buying flats. Obviously that's what we come to know and love here at Charles Cox, but this is a 3/4 bedroom house. Now I found this particular property on Gumtree. Yeah, I know, a bit of a strange place to find a property, but there's a bit of a story behind it. So we had, there was 2 daughters and they'd inherited the property and they were trying to sell it, and they had paid a decorator to come round and they'd done some painting and decorating and they put a new floor down or whatever, carpet, very cheap stuff, but they had actually refurbished the property on an extremely light touch. It wasn't a particularly good job. They didn't pay mega money for it. I think they only paid something like about £1,200 for a whole house to be decorated inside. On the basis that they'd be able to sell it. They just couldn't shift it. It was on Gumtree, it came on some sort of weird auction site, I saw it, and it just couldn't do it. And I wondered why that was. So I made an inquiry with the auction house and they said it's just a pain because the people that actually own it right now, they live in Brighton, they don't drive, and they run a system where the owner shows them around the property. So there's no estate agency. So having seen it also on like Gumtree and Facebook selling pages and the rest of it, I thought, well, they're probably desperate to get rid of it. They kind of want the money. So I offered to meet them there, but they can only meet me like on a Tuesday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when they can get a train here and I don't know, 3 different buses or whatever. So as a business, I say, I'll come and pick you up. I've got a child seat or the ISOFIX thing, so you can bring your kid if you want. It's a proper branded car, I'll give you a business card and some ID, you know, I'm not some kind of weirdo just picking you up. So they like that because that's how help them out basically, and I can drop them at a train station or take them all the way back. But what it's done for me is it's allowed me access into the property, which is basically what nobody else was getting because of the situation. So I've gone in, had a look at it. I've seen that the firewall has been taken down in the middle of the property. There's some various issues and the electrics don't comply and the rest of it, but they've done a lovely job of painting it. So I basically explain what the issues are to them, because I know they want the kind of going rate for it, or at least near going rate. And the going rate for this particular property, this is 2020, by the way, which we all know what happened shortly. So we've got, it's like I say 2020 and then I have a cough. Don't come near me, obviously. So we've got 2020, and then the property was probably worth about 230, I'd say. They're trying to sell it for about 205. That's kind of what they want. But I go in and I tell them about all this work that needs to be done and the rest of it, and I make an offer of 180, and then we go up to 185 because they bargain me up a little bit. So 185k, and it's worth that. So I'm already winning at this moment in time, other than the fact we're going to have to do some works to it. But I understand the fire regulations. I understand all the electric stuff. So we actually only spend about £3,000 sorting those particular issues out, because there are some guidance that we can use to our advantage. So we're in for 188k at this moment in time. Property's worth 230k. So from day one, without me even doing anything, we've just made, 130k plus 12, 42k on this particular property on day one. Literally the day that I pick the keys up, I know it's going to cost us about £3,000 there's an earthing problem in the property, but you can actually get an ECIR if you take away all the metal sockets and the rest of it and replace them with plastic, because they don't require the same earthing problems. So that's cost down the cost a lot. And then with the fire separation, that can be done by a linked fire alarm throughout the building as part of the works of converting everything to plastic. So we've achieved this. £42,000 from the day that I pick up the keys. Funny story on the day that I pick up the keys. So it is actually the first day of the lockdown, and tradesmen are allowed to carry on working. So I'm thinking, well, we need to do some of this work and the rest of it so we can get it. I don't even know if we're going to get a tenant. And I remember turning up to collect the keys off the lady, and she was on the second floor on a block of flats, and she had the keys on a fishing rod on a wire dangling out and lowered them down to me, whilst I kind of didn't get out my car and grabbed them, because no one really knew what was going on. I know lots of people, it was a very scary time, but it's just a little light bit of comedy when you look back now as to quite what we were like. I'm not sure it had really made any difference to anything at all, whether or not I got out of my car and she had a fishing rod with her keys, but that's what we did. So we picked up the keys, did these works here. We're allowed to do that under controlled conditions. And then actually people were allowed to move during the pandemic. I know there was a lot of stuff around that. We did actually manage to find one of our tenants via a scheme that we run with Brighton and Hove Council, where we help people that are in danger of possibly being made homeless or maybe going into sheltered accommodation. So before that happens, so it could be divorcees, it could be people that have had an injury or something and can't work properly. So we work closely with them. So one of these tenants was moved into this property, and here we are, 142k. But it doesn't stop there, the journey on that particular one. So the tenant's in there for about a year. We put a kitchen in. So now we're on 188k. Kitchen was about £6,000, so we're now at 194k all in. And then this valuation of 200 during the pandemic went a little bit crazy, and it was valued at 270k after that. So you can see we've now gone from making 42k, having spent £6,000 on it, but we're now at £76,000 during that pandemic height. Now, I'm not saying that it's worth 270 today. It's probably gone down to like 255 or 260, but it's still more than what it was worth back in 2020 when we first picked up the keys. So the moral on this particular one is it's the first one that we bought under a limited company, but actually the interesting part of it is the way that we purchased it. So without an estate agent, a lot of hassle. And those are the sort of hassles that people won't go through. Most people won't think, I'll go to Brighton and pick up her name was Amelia, and I won't say her second name, but her name was Amelia. So we would go all the way to Brighton to pick Amelia up and then bring her. She can show us around the property, and then we'd take Amelia all the way back to Brighton, or dropped her at a train station, or went and got the keys, or whatever it might be. I think one viewing, maybe she did manage to get a car over. I can't quite remember everything. It was 4 years ago, but basically, most people can't be bothered with that. They just want to ring an estate agent, look on Rightmove and find them. This was found in a very unusual place, but basically going through the hassle of collecting the keys during the pandemic so that we could get on with this work, get the tenant moved in, and also the hassle of viewing it in the first place did result in this fairly sizable increase in the property, with us doing not a lot of work, in all honesty, £6,000 worth of kitchens. So since then we have painted the building again and done some other bits, but there's always a running cost to things. You know, the roof needs the moss taken off of it and stuff like that, but I'm taking that as not capital expenditure. That's just part of the running cost. The rent was £1,200 when the tenant moved in, and is now, I think James tells me it's 1,400. I might have got that wrong. It might be 1,425 or something like that. But you can see it's gone up a little bit during this time. Not masses. You know, the tenant's fairly happy and they pay their rent, but you know, it's gone up a little bit. So. And obviously you can see the inflation. But on all of that, although we have refinanced and taken this money out to fund some of the later deals you can see that the original mortgage would have been based on the 185, which would have probably been around about 155, 160, something like that on that. And of course now we've got this property that's worth 270 or 260 maybe in today's market. So that's property number 5, the first buy-to-let jobby. If you're enjoying these videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. You can follow this series along from video number 1 all the way through to the end, and there'll be a summary as well. And I hope that really inspires people to kind of think outside the box and see how long it takes to do these things. This isn't a kind of like click my fingers and I've bought a block of flats and now I'm a property developer with 1,000. You know, it's just taken a long time just to get to 5. Bearing in mind we started in this kind of 2011 with the first smelly cat wee job. So hopefully it's a really useful information and a video for everybody. Obviously I've done other things during that time, but if you do like these, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to check out the other videos in this series.